Hello everyone, you're welcome back to my channel. I really appreciate you for clicking to watch my video. My name is Helen, and in today's video I'm going to be guiding you from scratch to finish on how to build or construct a three-tier VPC network architecture in AWS. What is this three-tier network architecture in AWS? You can actually build a three-tier network architecture with VPC in AWS, which can give you a structured and highly scalable framework designed to support the deployment of web applications with enhanced security, reliability, high availability, and fault tolerance. So basically, this networking solution is actually valuable when you're building or deploying a web application in AWS that basically requires scalability, security, high availability, resource isolation, fault tolerance, and efficient network management. With this three-tier network solution, you can actually apply it in a wide range of web applications, including e-commerce platforms, content management systems, social media sites, and more. So this is what the architecture looks like. First of all, we have to determine the region where we want to deploy our resources to. All right. So today we're going to be making use of US East 1. All right. So inside this region, we'll now start by creating our VPC and then deploy the components. So this is the VPC here inside this region, and we'll be making use of this CIDR 10.0.0.0/16. And I also like us to make this solution highly available, okay? Because our requirements, our organization actually requires that we make or deploy our application in such a way that it will be highly available. So we need to have availability zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. This availability zone 1 will be having a public subnet, okay, which is where the load balancer or your web application, which is actually the first tier, will be deployed to, okay. So the private subnet we have here can actually house your application layer, okay, and the last private subnet we have here can house your resources such as database, all right, in your private subnet. And coming to availability zone 2 is actually the same thing. So this is actually another set of resources that will be in availability zone 2, and over here we also have public subnet and 2 private subnet, okay. So you can see that we have basically in total we have 3 public subnets. So this one is just basically for web layer, and the ones we have here in the private subnet, which is app subnet, will be for the application layer, and the ones we have here will be for the data layer. So this will basically help us to achieve resource isolation in order to have our resources running in different availability zone for highly available architecture or framework, for a secured environment, for a very reliable environment. This is actually the solution you need. So we'll be exposing our resources which we have in public subnet using internet gateway. That will be the route, okay. So we'll have a route table that we can attach to the public subnet, and then we expose that using internet gateway so that it can have access to the internet. And for the resources we have in private subnet, okay, it can be exposed. We can use a private route table for that, and then we can use NAT gateway to get them exposed so that we can have the outbound traffic to the internet via a NAT gateway. So this is what this architecture looks like, and I'm just going to summarize all I've said here, the components we have in this architecture. I'll be creating a VPC with 3 public subnets and 6 private subnets across 3 availability zones. This can help for scalable, high available, and fault tolerance architecture. And we'll create an internet gateway that will be used to enable communication between the VPC and the internet. And then the next component is to create public subnets and public route tables. So public subnets will be established, and then the corresponding route tables will be created in order to accommodate resources requiring direct internet access. And then we're gonna be creating private subnets and private route tables, okay. So we're gonna link or route this so that our internal resources like application servers and databases will be secured. And lastly, we're going to be deploying a NAT gateway. So with NAT gateway, we achieve an inbound internet access from the private subnet. Okay, so because we don't want to really expose the resources we have in private subnets, we'll be using this NAT gateway as a route in our route table. Okay, don't worry, I'm going to show you this from start to finish. So right now, I'm going to take you to AWS and let's start deploying this networking solution. Please subscribe to my channel if you are yet to do so. Also click on the notification bell so you don't get to miss my subsequent videos. Also give me a like if you are enjoying this video so far. Comment if you have any question. So let's go to AWS and let's deploy this 3-tier networking solution. So this is my AWS. I'm already signed in. I've signed into my AWS management console. So the first resource we'll be creating is VPC. We'll be creating our own VPC. So what I would do is to type VPC here and I'll click on VPC. I'm gonna click on VPC here, and if you see what I have here, I just have one VPC and this is the default VPC. So I'll go ahead and click on create VPC. And I'm gonna type the name as project VPC and scroll down. The IPv4 site I'll be using is 10.0.0.0/16 and tenancy is default, so I'll go ahead and click on create VPC. And the VPC has been created. If you check here, you see that the project VPC has been created. All right, so the next thing I will need to do is to enable host name in this VPC. So I'll select the VPC I've created here, and in action I'll click on the drop down and I'm gonna select ADVPC settings. Okay, so I'll scroll down and I'll enable DNS host name and I'm gonna save this. Alright, so this is done. The next, so having created VPC, I'll go ahead and start creating the VPC components. So the next thing I'm gonna be creating here is internet gateway. So internet gateway is here. I'll select it and actually have I have internet gateway already here by default. So I'm gonna create internet gateway. Okay, and that is that. It's just very simple to create. So I'll click on create internet gateway. Alright, having created this internet gateway, the next thing I need to do here is to attach the internet gateway to the VPC I've created. So how do I do that? You can see this action here. Just click on that and you see attach to VPC. And you select the VPC you want to attach this to. This is project VPC I created, so I'll attach the internet gateway. So having done that, the next component we'll be creating here is subnets. So we'll create 9 subnets. The total subnets we'll be using in this project is 9. So we'll first of all create 3 public subnets, which is for the web T, okay, and then we'll create another 3 private subnet for the application T, and lastly 3 private subnet for the data T. So let me go to this is my subnet here. I'll click on it and then all the subnets you can see here is actually the default subnet. So I'll go ahead and click on create subnet and I'm going to select the VPC we've created, which is project VPC, and scroll down. I'll type the subnet name. So I'm gonna be following a particular naming convention. So I'll start this way: public subnet AZ1. I'll recommend you follow this naming convention so you don't get confused. So public subnet AZ1 is for the WebT. Okay, so the availability zone will be using for this is US East 1A. Alright, so the IPv4 CIDR I'll be using is 10.0.0.0/24. This is it here. Okay, so the tag is fine. So having created the first subnet, I'll go ahead and click on add new subnet here, because remember we're creating 9 subnets in total. So the subnet name, so the subnet for this is public subnet AZ2. Alright, the availability zone is US East 1B. Okay, so the first one is in US East 1A, the second one is US East 1B, and the CIDR for this is 10.0.1.0/24. Right, so that is it for the second subnet. I'll click on add new subnet for the third one. So this will be public subnet AZ3. The availability zone will be US East 1C, and the CIDR will be 10.0.2.0/24. And okay, so we are done with the public subnet. Now let's go to, I'll click on add new subnet. So we'll start creating our private subnet. So I'll be creating subnet for the application tier. So that will be private app subnet AZ1. Okay, so when you see me type AZ1, it means it will be in availability zone US East 1A. Alright, if I type 2, that is US East 1B. If I type 3, is US East 1C. Okay, so this private app subnet will be in US East 1A, and the CIDR will be 10.0.3.0/24. Okay, so let's add another subnet. Private app subnet AZ2. This is the second private subnet to be creating, and it's running US East 1B. The CIDR will be 10.0.4.0/24. And that is it. I'll add another subnet for the third private subnet for our application tier. So this is private subnet AZ1, AZ3. Okay, and the availability zone is US East 1C. The IPv4 CIDR is 10.0.5.0/24. Okay, so that is the private subnet for the app layer or the application tier. Now let's create the next 3 private subnet for the data tier. So private DB subnet AZ1. The availability zone is US East 1A. and the CIDR block is 10.0.6.0/24. Alright, and I'll click on add new subnet, and this will be private DB subnet AZ2. This one is US East 1B. The CIDR should be 10.0.7.0/24. Okay, and lastly, add new subnet. This is private DB subnet AZ3. The availability zone is US East 1C, and the CIDR is 10.0.8.0, sorry, 8.0/24. Okay, so let's review what we've created. To please ensure that all this the CIDR block is correct and the naming convention. So have public subnet AZ1 in US is 1A, the CIDR is fine. Public subnet AZ2 US is 1B, the CIDR is fine. Public subnet AZ3 US is 1C, the CIDR is fine. Okay, private app subnet AZ1 US is 1A, the CIDR is fine. Okay, so please check this thoroughly and ensure you are not making any mistake. Okay, so I can see that I didn't add private subnet AZ1, private app subnet AZ2, private app subnet AZ3. Okay, so I should add app here. Private DB subnet AZ1, private DB subnet AZ2, private DB subnet AZ3. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and click on create subnets. Awesome, the subnet has been created. So you can see all the 9 subnets are here and all running. Alright, so what is the next step here? The next step is to enable auto assign IP address for our public subnet. So we have three public subnets. So for the 3 of them, we'll be enabling auto assign public IP address. So once you select the public subnet, okay, once you select that, come to action and click on it. Click on edit subnet settings and enable auto assign public IPv4 address. Save it. We are doing this so that public IP address will be assigned automatically, okay, because this is a public subnet. So I'm gonna select this other one and do the same thing. Enable auto assign IPv4 address, right? And lastly, I'll be doing that for the 3rd public subnet. Alright, so we are done with subnets. Now the next thing is to go to route table. We'll be creating a route table. I'm gonna click on route table here and I'll click on create route table. So first of all, we'll be creating a public route table. So I'm gonna name it public route table, and select our VPC, and that is all. I'll create route table. Okay, so this public route table is for the web tier. All right, so after creating this, I'm gonna go ahead and create the second route table, which will be a private route table, and this will be for our application tier. So click on route table, create route table. I will name it private route table. Select the VPC, and I'm gonna create, okay, let me actually, because this is for the app T, so let me differentiate this from the next one we'll be creating, because we'll create private route table for our database tier. So this is for app tier. I'll click on create route table, and lastly we're creating the next private route table for our DB tier, database or data tier. So private DB route table, select VPC, and I will create. Alright, now we're done with route table. Let's go over to NAT gateways. NAT gateway is just right here. Click on NAT gateways. So I don't have any right now. I don't have any NAT gateway. Just click on create NAT gateway. NAT gateway is one, and please note you create your NAT gateway in the public subnet. Okay, please take notes. You create your NAT gateway in the public subnet. So even though you'll be using NAT gateway for just like a gateway for your resources in the private subnet, you have to create it in the public subnet. Okay, please take notes. So I'll be selecting the public subnet AZ1, rather public subnet AZ1 is here. All right, so scroll down. So we'll be allocating an elastic IP to this NAT gateway. So just click on allocate elastic IP. So we can have a static IP address, and that has been allocated. So click on create NAT gateway. Okay, so now that this NAT gateway has been created, I'm gonna go to public route table that we've created, which is here. Click on route table and select this route table. So I want to give a route to this public route table. So this route table will be using internet gateway. Okay, so the routes will be internet gateway. So once you select public route table, you come here, click on routes, and just right here you see edit route, click on it. So here just click on add routes and select from anywhere and click here, select internet gateway. Once you click on internet gateway, the one you created will be shown here. Okay, I need to select it again. Internet gateway, select internet gateway and save changes. Alright, so I'll need to then associate public subnet with this public route table. Okay, so this public route table, we've added a route. The next thing is to associate public subnet. Remember, we have 3 public subnets we've created. So just come to this tab and click on public subnet, and then have to scroll down and you see edit subnet association. So here look for public subnet you've created, 3 of them. Please ensure you select the public subnet, the 3 public subnets, and click on Save Associations. Okay, so the next thing is to go to our private route table, and this is the private route table for our apt. So once you click on it, let's add a route to it as well. So I've clicked on route, and just beneath here you see edit route, add route, select from anywhere. So right now we'll be making use of NAT gateway. Okay, remember this is for our application T, so we'll be making use of NAT gateway. All right, so just select NAT gateway and select the NAT gateway you've created and save changes. Okay, so having done this, select the same private app route table and click on subnet association. So we'll be associating the 3 subnets we've created for our application T. We'll be associating it to this route table. So just click on edit subnet association and select private app subnet, the 3 private app subnets you've created, private app subnet. Okay, and save associations. Alright, so now we come over to the private DB route table. Let's add a route to it. So actually you should have another NAT gateway. Remember, we just created one NAT gateway. Ideally you should have 2 NAT gateways in this case, so you know, for redundancy, right? So but we'll be making use of the same NAT gateway for this for the database tier. Okay, so just select it, come to route and click on it, click on add route, and here select NAT gateway, click on NAT gateway and save changes. Alright, so let's check what we've done. Ensure that everything is running well and that you actually configure this well. Okay, so if you don't review what you've done, probably you might be omitting something, but I'm sure I really got all I did correctly. So let me check the route. So we added private, let me start with the public route table, and on the route tab I can see the internet gateway I attached here. This is the default one. Okay, and if I check the subnet association, right, these are the public subnets I've associated to my public route table. Okay, so let me check the second one, private app route table. The route should be NAT gateway, and that is it here. So let me check the subnet association. So I have private app subnets. The 3 private app subnet for our application T is fine. And lastly, let me check for the private data route table. The route is NAT gateway, and subnet association should be the subnet for, okay, we've not actually associated the subnet. So right now click on edit subnet association. Let's associate the private DB subnet. Okay, the 3 of them. So select the 3 of them So you can never be so sure. So please ensure you review what you've done before you go ahead. All right, so save associations, and that is it. So if I click on private DB route table now, check the subnet associations. As you see, the DB subnets, the three of them. Okay, that is fine. So that is it for the network connectivity. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please give me a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and click on that notification bell so you don't get to miss out on my subsequent video. Next video. Also, share this video if you really want others to benefit. Thank you so much, and bye for now.